Hi, folks. I'm going to do a quick demo using Keyshot for so that we can start getting into rendering our designs here. And I'm going to pause for a second. Okay, so I wanted to have this out there for those of you who are getting who are running a little faster than the class. Plus, it's a good idea to try to absorb some of the concepts around rendering over time. So I'm going to share my screen here. I'm going to share the remote labs. I am connected to the one of the computers in our computer CAD lab at school, and I'm going to show you about Keyshot. So first thing we're going to do is we're going to go to the metal server. I'm going to go into CAD I. Where are we at? Spring 2022. Where am I at? Okay, CAD I, spring 2022. And here is my folder. And let's take a look at, I wanted to try and do like, let's take a look at this ring demo file and see if there's something in there we can use to render. Oh, okay. And I guess I haven't used Rhino on this computer yet. So we've got that going. There we go. Oh yeah, this is a basic sub D that I did. Here's my notes. I like to take the notes and keep them over here in our, okay. That's fine. Hold on. Let's see here. Okay. So let me take this notes panel and I want to put it up here. Oh, what's going on? Zoom is being weird. Hold on. That's fine. Okay. So we're going to take this notes. We're going to plunk it right up here with the rest of our little tabs on the right-hand side. That was where I have my ring size. Rhino is running a little slow through the remote access, so I'm going to keep this brief. So what I'm looking at here is the ring. If you notice, it is slightly below the ground plane, which is the XY axis. I'm going to click on it to select it. I'm going to use Gumball. Once Gumball comes on, there we go, Gumball, to pull it up a little bit. There we go. All right, and yeah, let's, even though this is a sub D, let's pull up some sub D tools. I just want to make the outside of this a little bit skinnier. Let's go to edges. Select edges from loops. I just double clicked and we're going to also grab this one. And oh, not that one, but this one is what I want. Yeah, and this guy here. You can see how I just selected those edge loops. I am now going to, okay, I've selected them. Now I'm going to use Gumball. I'm going to scale it in. I'm holding down the Shift key. And I just want to scale this a little bit. Okay, that's more like what I want. I just let go. Oh, Rhino is running very slow through remote access right now, but this is good because what I did by just scaling those 3 edge loops, I did not affect the inside ring size, you know, where it's going to fit on my finger. I did not affect that geometry. So this is good. What I'm also going to do is I'm going to turn this whole thing. I'm going to go off of my sub D tools. Okay, we're okay here. I'm going to turn it like this a little bit. In the top viewport, I'm going to also turn it kind of like this. And let's make it ghosted here so I can actually see which way Oh, that's not actually how I want it. I want it more like this. Okay. And over here in the right viewport, I'm going to move it up a tiny bit. Not too bad. Now we're going to do a save as, because this was my modeling file. And what I really want to do is I want to use this for rendering. So I'm going to call this ring render test file. And I'm again saving it in my folder on CAD I. And that's good. It's successfully saved. I'm now going to close Rhino. No, I don't want to deal with the update. And what we're going to do now is we're going to open up Keyshot. All right. So when Keyshot first opens, you should get this little splash screen. This is a recent file that I was working on. I was doing a demo for CAD II. But sometimes you'll see some resources here. You can get demos. You can go to the manual online. There's also a forum where you can ask questions or read other questions and answers that other people have asked. But this splash screen could just get closed. There's really no need to keep it open unless you want to go in there and explore those resources. And I do suggest that you do that if you have a chance. All right, so this is our Keyshot workspace. And what we're looking at here is a main window in the middle. On the left-hand side, we have our library panel. On the right-hand side, we have our scene panel or project panel. And what we have over here in the library is our options for materials and for the environment. We can change the background. Oh, I just grabbed off the backplate thing. I didn't mean to do that. Yeah, here we go. So yeah, let's do that here and put that back where it belongs. All right, right here. Oh boy. Sometimes when you're dragging things around, especially when you have something slower, there it is, the back plates ended up there. We could drag this image over here, and then we are now rendering on this lovely background. Now, our jewelry really doesn't, maybe your piece of jewelry will fit there, but these are just options for, we just drag them into the workspace, and there we go. We have this parking lot that looks out over wherever, goodness. I'm not going to do a, you can also put a backplate in here from an image that you might have. One thing we could do too when we're testing things over here is we could actually bring in a 3D model into Keyshot. We could drag this over. Keyshot's got its own basic 3D models that you could use to test out materials. Your middle mouse button zooms in and out. Your right mouse button, and if you right click on one of these, it'll bring up this contextual menu that we can use. Like, one of the most important things we can find in that menu is the move panel. And what we can do here is we can move things, we can scale things, we can rotate them. When we get them where we want them, we hit OK. And then that little panel can go away. All right. So I don't really need this. I'm going to go over here to my right-hand side, and I'm going to take that model, and I'm going to remove it or delete it. Where's wait a second. Just right-clicked and it's going to do this. So I'm going to hit the delete key. There we go. Now it's gone. Where is it? I thought it was. Let's go back to the scene. Delete. There it is right here. Goodbye. Yes, I do want to delete that part. Yeah. Okay. So, and then we have all these options for materials. This is where the real power of Keyshot is. We have so many materials. We have architectural materials. We have cloth and leather. We have, fuzz. For those of you guys who are are interested in flocking or stuff like that, you can find different, look, we've got lawn grass, tall grass, interesting stuff for materials. So background, we don't really need the background. Let's go back over here to environment, lighting, material, camera, scene. Where's my, this is where it is here. Environment. Oh, okay. It's, it is here somewhere, I think. It's more material, maybe under there. Nope. It was right in environment. Oh, here we go. The image. We're going to get rid of that image. Okay. Now let's go back over here to environment. And we're going to drag over just a basic light tint. And where's my, gosh, that darn thing is still there. I'm going to get rid of it. And so back over here in our main scene is usually where this stuff is listed. Okay. Okay. Okay, we're going to go over here to the scene. We've got environment. Let's now go to background. Here's our backplate image, and it is a parking lot by so-and-so, Derek Tersani. We're going to delete it right there. That's where our little trash can is. All right, and what I want to do here is go to one of my, well, actually, let's bring in our ring now. So what we're going to do is we're going to use this little import button down here. We're going to go find my, not CAD 2, let's go to metals. I want to go to CAD 1. I don't want to rename CAD 1. Okay, and here we are, spring 2022. And here's my folder. And what I want is my render test file. So I like to make sure that I have my up orientation to Z. All right, that's important because in Rhino, the up and down orientation is the Z axis. We want to have it bring in the NURBS data. We shouldn't have been playing with the rendering stuff in Rhino, so don't worry about that. And I'm just going to hit quick import. Okay, it's paused. There we go. There's my ring. It is large in the frame. We want this to be, let me just put that preset on. We want a landscape. Let's make this a little bigger, 1280 or 1224 by 994. That's a little tall, wide. Landscape 1280 by 1024 or 1024 by 768. That's that's a decent one. So that's our what we've got here. Now what I want to do though is I want to move this a little because I really prefer to have an opening so that you can see, like if you didn't know what this was already, you would look at this and go, what in the world? I have no idea. So we want to go into our, let's go back to our main scene here so we can look in the window and see, here's the ring. Okay, Barb ring render test. I'm going to right click on this in the main display panel and I'm going to choose move part. Okay, and this is where this window comes up. I want to rotate it. I want to rotate it on the Z axis and let's, I think I have to do negative. Yeah, there we go. So I want to turn this until I can see the opening and realize that this is a ring and I understand more of the shape of it. I may actually want to take the Y axis and rotate it a little bit backwards, I think. No, wrong one. I think it's the X axis. No, go back this way. There we go. Just a teeny bit. Okay. Scale is fine. I don't want to mess with the scale at all. moving, it should be sitting right on the ground plane, so that's good. So now if I just close this window, this will go away. All my changes will go away. So I have to make sure that I hit OK when I finish there. Okay, so what is this material? Let me explain again about the workspace here at Keyshot. This is our library panel. This is all the potential of things that we can put into our main display window. Over here on the right-hand side, our scene panel is what we actually have there. This is where we can edit materials and edit environments and edit textures. All of our editing on our particular file, this is where we save our images, change our lighting. All of that happens on the right-hand panel. The left-hand panel we want to use when we want to look at our materials. So I want to make this, let's say I want to do this in like plastic. I'm going to open this up. We have lots of different plastics. We have hard, we have optical, we have rubber, we have soft. I'm going to, actually, we're casting our rings into metal. So let's look at metal instead of plastic. I was thinking plastic because I like different colors, but let's go with basic. Let's see, do we have bronze? Do we have, so if we go, one of the things that is really cool is that they have all these different, let's look at copper, right? We've got basic copper. Yeah, we could drag that over and take a look at it and see what we get. Wow, this is running so slow. Let's drag it over onto my piece. All right, and I'm letting go of the mouse. Okay, this is going to take a second. All right, so look at that. It's like a bright copper. I may want to mess with the color of that a little bit. Let's go to the colors panel and give that a minute. Here's metals. Look and see, do we have bronze? We do not. Wow, that's annoying. I really like bronze a lot. And this copper is just like, whoa, way too bright. So what we may do is, let's look at earthy over here. These are basic colors. Let's look further down. So we've got all these Pantones, metallic shimmers. Let's see what we got here. Now you've got some stuff here that might look more like bronze. Something like this. Let's drag this over on top. All right, I'm trying to drag. My mouse is so slow. Just let go. Let's see what happens here. It's running so slow. All right. Okay. Well, it either worked or it didn't. I can tell you Keyshot is starting to run really slow. All right, so we have a basic metal on here. I think I'm going to try and edit the color over here a little bit. So we've got material, we've got a metal color on the material. I'm not going to worry about textures, right? Let's look at bump maps. Because let's face it, our piece is not going to be perfectly smooth. All right, let's see if this disappears. Oh, goodness. Things are running so slow. I'm going to close that. All right. And so now what we need to get to is our environment. We have like this very neutral gray back here now. And it does give a nice contrast to our piece, but we really want to have this be, it doesn't have much of a wow factor in any way. So what I'd like to do is go into some of these studio tents. This one here, the startup and startup balanced, these are probably my favorites because I can go in and I'll be able to edit this gradient and this the way that these lights hit this piece. So I have that, and yeah, I don't want to deal with one of those backgrounds. And then if I really like the material that I that I end up making here, I can save it, and I can save it as a favorite. I would do that somewhere up on the server in your folder so that you don't have to always go to the same. Keyshot has a tendency to save things to the particular computer you're on, and that is not, that's not really a good practice for when you're working in the CAD lab at MJCC. Okay, so I have gotten pretty much everything I want to get into my main window, so I can actually just close this panel. Now, if I want to go back in and change it to a different environment, different material, I can always go to my window menu and library and just choose materials, and it'll come right back up again. Or I can just hit the M key, which is the shortcut. And if I hit the M key again, it'll make it go away. So here we are, we've got our piece. Now, when I use my mouse wheel, I can move it in and out. Remember, this is a ring, so we don't want it to fill up a huge amount of the frame. I actually think that this is a good framing for it. We've got it turned around how we want, and let's go into material, and we're gonna double click on that material. We're gonna take a look at some of this. We can make the texture a little rougher right here. Let's see, we don't have anything here. Those are the, and then we have labels. If we, where's where I can change the color. So this is a, okay, metal type color. Here's the color. Oof, geez, that's not what I wanted to do. So, but let's see what happens if we change. Now we've got a bronze right up here, this first one. And if you'll notice, if I wanted to, I could make a note of that. The hex for that is AB9184. I like that. That looks a lot like a bronze. I could even make it possibly even a little darker. I'll drag it down. Yeah, there we are. Okay, I like that. So now I've got the bronze color that I wanted. It's let's run up the roughness a little bit more for the metal. Yeah, there we go. I mean, it's smooth. You can kind of see the shape really well. Okay, good. Free camera. So we could change around the camera perspectives, but let's leave that alone for the moment because I want to go into and show you what we can do with the environment. And what we've got is this lighting environment. This is great. We're not using a backplate image. If we were photographing our actual piece, we would want to have it in an environment like this, where we can control the lights to change how the shadows go on it. See how over here in the right-hand panel, I'm dragging around these light and dark areas to affect. So you see how we can change the contrast. What's important is that our ring doesn't blend into the surface, into the background, not the surface, into the background. And so we can maneuver around these different light sources, or I'm not even sure what these are, but they're like dots that relate to the dark and light areas of the background. And you can see how the lighting changes slightly, but more importantly, it changes the background, which is one of the things that I find, like this guy, moving that down, that's kind of cool. I have a pretty light background. It has a nice atmospheric feel. I almost feel like it needs to get just a wee bit. That's a little too dark. Okay, let's try that. I want to drag this guy around one more time. Move that up versus if I move it down. Yeah, let's keep that along the top, right there. All right. I kind of like that. So now I'm going to start planning my image. I'm going to go to image and we're going to go to render. So we've got like presets here. Right now I'm at 1024 by 768. Let's look at the other presets. Like we've got 1280. It's so funny. I choose something in these presets and it doesn't seem to actually relate. So we could just choose the proportion and it'll give us a nice setup there. And now we can go down here to our render section. And first thing we're going to do is we're going to name our file. That's important. So I'm going to say ring test render. And I'm going to put the date today too, 3-6-22. Yes, I'm doing this on Sunday. So now this is super important. Look where it says what it's saving. It's so important to know where your files are. And if wherever you see C, that means it's going to save it on the C drive. The C drive is the drive inside the computer. So I'm logged into, I don't know, computer 3, computer 10. I don't even remember what computer I'm logged into. So I don't want to have to go searching for this file on all the different computers in the CAD lab. So I'm going to go back up to the, I'm going to go to this PC. I'm going to go to the metal server. I'm going to go to CAD I. We're going to go down and find spring 2022. I'm going to save it in my folder. There's a Keyshot folder. So we're going to call, and Keyshot. Yeah, that's fine. We're just selecting the folder. That's great. So that's where it's going to go. It's going to go on the server. See, it's the Z drive. I'm going to save this first one as a PNG. We're going to go with 1024 by 768. That's what the print size looks like. We can change the DPI. This is great. This also is asking us if we want to save these render passes as a separate file. You really don't need to do that unless you're planning on editing them in Photoshop, which is an interesting thought. But and if you're a real Photoshop power user, this is a great thing to do because then you can go in and you can edit your rendering even more. But to start with, we're going to go with let's go with a JPEG. Start out. We're going to have a 99% JPEG, and we're going to add this to the queue. And down here we can see, okay, we've got that set up for the queue. All right. And so I'm going to close this for a minute. And what I'm going to do now is I'm going to change the viewpoint like this. All right. So there's my ring again. By the way, you change the camera viewpoint with your left-hand mouse button, your index finger generally on your, if you're using your left mouse button. It's your main, selection tool. And now I'm going to go to render, and we're going to create another one. And this is ring test render 2. And there's still the date. We're going to make that one a JPEG as well also. And then just for, giggles, we're going to go with a PNG in the same one. And we're going to put the alpha, which is transparency, which means that if I put this into Photoshop, I can actually add like a flat color behind it. That would be fun. Maybe I'll show that to you guys at some point. But we're going to put an alpha in there because a PNG, you can have a transparency as part of the file. I'm going to add that to the queue as well. So now we're going to go look at the queue. We should have 3 files there. That's great. They're all 1024 by 768. So what I can do now is, okay, this is CPU usage. I don't have anything running but Keyshot right now, so that's good. And we're going to just go to the queue. We're going to tell it to process the queue. All right. So what happens is a big window shows up, and then it processes, and now they're all done. These were quick. Usually if you want to center your window, there's a bar on the bottom, a status bar that'll tell you how far along it is in the rendering. These were quick. It's a pretty simple geometry, simple background, simple environment, simple lighting, simple material. There's all those factors. So one of the factors that would make things longer is opacity and transparency. If your computer has to think about not only how the light is hitting a surface, but how it's going through a surface and reflecting in that surface based on the geometry of that surface or solid, it makes your rendering happen longer. So those of you who want to work with transparency or opacity, keep that in mind, that your renderings are going to take a lot longer to do than somebody who's just picking a basic metal or basic plastic. so there we go. And I'm going to save this Keyshot file. Again, I am not going to save it to the C drive. I'm going to make sure that I'm on the Metal server. I'm going to go to CAD 1. We're going to go to CAD 1 fall or spring 2022. There we go. And here I am. And we're going to save this Keyshot in here. This way, all these material choices that we made, that color change we did. Oh, I have to give it a name too. Ring Keyshot. Keyshot demo. Save. All right. And now what we're going to do is we're actually going to close this. It was saved. And now let's go to our, take a look at some of these renderings. All right. There we go. That's the one that we had just done. Let's see all photos. Oh, geez Louise. I don't want to do that. Good old Microsoft, man. Okay. Here's the first one. Here's the second one. All right. And let's bring up the third one. Okay. So this is the last one we did. And this is the JPEG, and this is also a JPEG. So we've got a couple different options here. This is, I believe, the PNG. Yeah, this is the one with transparency. So what we would do is if we put this in Photoshop, let me see whether, no, we're going to skip that for now. I'll show you Photoshop in class. But this is our basic Keyshot render. And I am now going to go back up here. We're going to minimize that. And I'm back to, I'm going to stop this demo and we will post it into our Zoom recording indexes. And I'll see everybody when we're back in class.